Good morning and welcome to the 2019 Under-18 Men's and Women Ontario Curling Championships, brought to you by Curl On and Title Sports Live. We are at the Paris Curling Club in Paris, Ontario. My name is Mary Chilvers and I am joined here this morning by my special guest co-host and reigning World Junior Champion, Matt Hall. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. So on our feature sheet this morning, we have Team Connor Massey from the Bayview Golf and Country Club going up against Team Landon Rooney from the Dixie Curling Club. And we're going to have a quick look at the standings. This is the sixth game of this championship, Matt, so pretty interesting standings right now. We've got one alone at the top, Team Knee-Page at 4-1. And then at second and third, Lung and Goves at 3-2. And then we have 4 teams at 2-3, Matt. And then Team Massey at also at 2-3. So what do you think about this, Matt? Do you think everybody's still in the game?
Absolutely. You know, at least for me personally, this is probably one of the most fun parts of the week.
Yeah.
Sort of going into the last 2 or 3 draws. This is where you start to see one of the teams usually separate themselves out, and you usually see a little bit more disparity in the standings at this point, but all that does is just make for even better curling to watch as a spectator and to play as a curler.
It certainly does. And so we have Rooney and Massey playing against each other, and they're both at 2-3. So like you say, 3 is still in the picture. So this is actually a really big game for these two teams.
This is a huge game for all of those teams at 3 losses. You
Sure
don't want to drop down to the 4th loss.
Yeah, so we're gonna have lots of fun watching this one today. So quickly, we're just going to meet the teams. On Team Massey, we have Skip Connor Massey. Third is Charlie Randall. Second, Grant Schnurr. Lead is John McCutcheon, and their coach is Art Leganchuk. Going up against Team Rooney, Landon Rooney is the skip. Third, Matthew Preneveau. The second is Kevin Genyava. Lead is Ben Lobo, and their coach is Dave Rooney. And we just saw the second practice finishing up here. Draw for Hammer, and it went back 12. I don't think that's good enough for Hammer, Matt.
I don't believe so. I was watching a little bit of the earlier practice. I think they were full 8, so
yes.
I think we will see first rocks from Massey here once the game gets underway, and Rooney will start with the Hammer. So
it'll be interesting, Matt, to see what kind of strategy these guys use. We've seen a lot of up and down in the first end for sure. More with the girls than the boys, but I think that is pretty typical. Most of the guys out here have been not afraid to get rocks and play.
And I would agree. I think we'll expect to see the same thing in this first couple ends here. When your back's up against the wall, you tend to not want to put everything on the line and risk it, right? So I think we'll see a little bit more of a conservative approach to start, but hopefully we get a little more aggressive play later on and have some stuff to talk about then.
Yeah, I think you're right. First end maybe straight up and down, but I've seen these guys out here and they can make everything. You know, they've got the really soft shots and the high hard ones. So it's been really fun to watch so far.
And that's one of the things, especially when you're at this age and you're a little bit more inexperienced. One of the things is you really, this is the time in the week when your back's up against a wall where you really need to rely on what you've been doing all week.
Right.
What has gotten you to this point? What has gotten you to the provincial championship? If that's an aggressive style of play, I don't see any reason to start backing down. Now, nothing wrong with blanking an end or two. It's something that you see at every level. But hopefully we don't see them shying away too much and we see them going at it once they get comfortable with the ice here this morning.
Yeah. So we do have 3 other sheets out here this morning. All very big games. So on sheet 1 we have Team Lung up against Team Goves. Sheet 3 we have McNamara up against Ingalls. And sheet 4, Knee-Page up against Jones. So all very important games here this morning.
And the one game I would be really interested in in watching, other than our feature one, would be that Page-Jones game over there. Page at 4-1 leading the field right now. Jones 2-3, just like our teams here, a little bit back up against the wall. So both of them have big things to fight for. With Page with a win would likely solidify his spot in the playoffs, and Jones obviously hoping to stay alive going forward to this weekend. So that'll be another good game to watch, and yeah, they'll all be good. I'm sure everyone's still alive and still fighting for it.
And we'll keep everybody at home updated as the games proceed on the scores here. We do have a guard set up there, Matt.
Not sure if that's a little bit surprising. Not sure if that was the call or they just came up a little bit light considering they went in on their first one.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I would agree.
Although if they did want to force the issue a little bit, this is definitely, while still staying a little bit conservative, this is definitely the way to do it. With that rollout by the Rooney team after that, it's really good. Then you can sort of go a little bit with a little bit less risk, put up that guard, and see what you can get in this first end.
For you, maybe a 405. Yeah, 410.
So Grant Schnur playing the come around.
Good line. Just four. Yep. 4, 5. Yep. Yes. Hair tight. Yep. Charlie. Hard. Hard, Charlie. Hard. Yes. Gotta go. Hard line. Hard. Okay, revive. Finish the hair. No. Nice. Good. Perfect, Grant.
Great shot there by Grant, grabbing the top of the pin. Those are always some really tough ones in the first end, going the other way. Usually in your practice, you will work back towards the glass, the same path that you're taking your draw for hammer for. So in the first end, going away, even though it is a draw to the button, it is a slightly different path. And sometimes you will generally see them come up a little bit lighter there. You're going to catch some fresh pebbles, some fresh frost just a little bit. So great adjustment there by Grant to get the right weight and put that one top button to get their team in a good position.
Yeah, that's a good point you make there, Matt. It's true. It is even though you're throwing towards the button both ways, it is a slightly different path, and
you will usually see it more in the second half of the shot. The first half, you're still following that path that you were throwing coming back, and we did see that a little bit. They got caught a little bit on the line, had to go to get it by. It ended up in a good position anyways, but you'll generally just see it just dig and cut a little bit more in the second half of the shot.
Yeah. It's all those little things that a lot of teams aren't aware of that can get them.
And it all just comes down to experience. You play enough, you start to see these patterns every single game, and you start to adjust to them.
Yeah, one thing you'll notice a lot too, like everyone goes hard to get that draw for hammer, and a lot of times no teams play down the center line, and then all of a sudden they have to draw down center line.
Well, interesting enough that you say that. We'll see this on a shot right here close to center. These are those types of shots that you will generally see miss tight or just wrecking on the guard here. Like you said, the hammer is so important in today's game that everyone spends their entire practice just working in that draw to the button the entire time. So when you have to come off that path a little bit tighter, closer to center, as we're seeing kind of here, it'll curl a little bit more and just tick the guard. So generally you will see the weight come down a little bit. Weight seemed to actually be okay. I think he made a good adjustment there, but you'll just see it cut a little bit more in that fresh pebble, and that's just something that you got to be ready for. Take that little bit extra ice, trust that it's going to be fresh pebble, and throw that little bit extra weight.
Absolutely, and that's something that coaches need to be aware of as well, especially with these younger players.
Good line. Line's great.
You know, it sounds super easy to just say, you know, trust what you're seeing out there, but sometimes it can be really tough to say, well, you know, I was throwing this way. Like, it's tough to believe that you sometimes have to throw 4 to 6 extra feet just because you're in a new path. But, you know, it all comes down to experience again. You see these patterns all the time, and you start to learn from them. Little bit of a mistake by the Massey team. Would have liked to keep that outside the house,
Yeah.
giving the Rooney team a chance for a double here. And if you hit it right, you might even roll behind the corner guards and get something set up for you.
How you liking the 5-rock rule, Matt?
I'll be honest, when it first came out, I wasn't as much of a fan, but you know, spending a year now playing it, I think it's I actually love it. It's really good. It changes the strategy of the game. It makes everything just a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to play second this year on my team, and that was really the one position where I think everything changed a little bit. You know, I played second back in the day as well in the 4-rock rule, and you got a 2 or 3 point lead, and you just threw peels the rest of the game, and really that's all you did. You just peeled corner guards. With the 5-rock rule now, we see a little bit more of, you know, a little bit more draws out of the second even when you're up, and you got to be a little bit more precise at every position now rather than just taking that lead and just hucking peels down the rest of the game. So I think that's a great addition to the game. It makes everyone have to be a little bit more well-rounded.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little leery on it myself when it first came in, but I gotta say, I love it. I really like it now.
It definitely makes it for more fun curling to watch, that's for
sure. And that's what we need, drama.
Oh, yeah. Excellent shot there by Charlie Randall, rolling behind the corner guard and really setting up at best a force here. You will see Preveno try once again to roll behind this corner guard and hopefully get a deuce set up.
Yeah, he's still got a chance here. Set up a couple of points.
Yep, whoa, yep, we're up, whoa, we're up. That's staying dead straight. Oh no, finish up at here. No.
Rooney has hammer here. That one's gonna roll just a little too far.
Seemed to really get caught on that one. The sweepers were trying to let them know that it was heavy
the
whole way, but they still seemed a little bit surprised with how straight that ran. I would say it might have been a new path, but I think that's pretty similar to the path he'd just thrown in his first one. And his first one over curled up to nose, and that one under curled. So could be the throw, could be the rocks. I think that's definitely a pattern that you want to continue to sort of just pay attention on as this game goes on. If you continue to get that over curl, under curl, then that's an adjustment you have to make usually with the rocks.
Yeah, we've watched a few games here now, and I don't think anybody has had any trouble with the rocks, or nothing we've noticed. So this is Connor Massey throwing his first rock of this first end. Just wants to make sure he is not behind that tee line on this shot.
This is a very tricky shot. You want to get around about halfway buried around that guard to choke it off, but you definitely don't want to be heavy, and it doesn't look like he is here.
Hard. Yeah, keep going. Okay, whoa. Right there. Perfect. Real nice.
It's a great position for that rock right
It
there,
is.
choking off the draw around the guard for the other team.
And that is, Matt, one of the toughest shots when you have to play that. Like you say, it has to be very precise.
Oh yeah, you can't be light and throw another guard
Yeah.
for the other team. You can't be heavy and go back tee,
Right.
or they're just gonna lob a freeze down right on top of you.
Yeah.
But it's one of those shots that you sometimes will see teams shy away from. That was definitely, you could have just drawn other side of the forefoot and still had the same pressure on. But I love the call, and when it's executed perfectly like this, it really works well. And now Rooney has to almost go all the way around that, almost back 8.
Yeah.
And the only way for him to get shot buried would be to go back 8,
Right.
which would leave a freeze for Connor right after that. So
Right.
great position, really sets up this end well.
So this is Landon's first shot here. Landon has hammer.
Line's pretty good. Bend early. Gotta be an 8. Gotta be 8-9. Line's really good. No, line's fine. Line's good if you're gonna do it. Just go then. Make it good, guys. Line's good. Switch if you can. Switch now, switch now. Kevin, switch now. Hard. Go, Kev. Go, Kev, right back. Real hard. Great. Okay.
So just comes up a little short.
And that's what I mean. That's generally the miss you'll see in the early ends down that center path.
Yeah.
There's still a little bit of fresh pebble. Now, obviously, Connor made a great adjustment on his to get it top 8, but just coming up a little light there for Rooney. He probably threw exactly the same weight he would have for his draw for hammer,
Right.
but just that slightly tighter path trying to come across the center line and just comes up about 4 feet lighter, and that would make sense.
So Massey's going to hit this. Like to hit and just stick right there, Matt, on center line maybe. And
Yeah, I think nose really will do the job. I think you could even just roll maybe a half rock towards the center line and really just choke off that draw path that Rooney will have to throw if this shot is made.
well, just got a little out on that one.
Yeah, and we saw the same thing with Rooney's third as well. That path just ran a little bit straighter than they would have hoped. So let's keep an eye on that. Maybe that path is just running a little bit straighter this morning, and we'll see how well they adjust to that trend moving forward.
So big shot here for Landon on the first end. Throwing the draw against 3.
Of course, the good thing here is he just threw it, so he'll have a good idea of what the speed is. It's all you can really ask for in the first end as a skip. Just throwing the same shot twice is always good.
Line's the same.
This is now up to the sweepers to put this on the pin.
Really hard. Hard, you got it, guys. Yep. Come on, Ben. Come on, Ben. Come on, Ben.
Sweeper's really dragging this one. This isn't heavy.
Just keep going. Just keep going. You got it. You got it. You got it. Real hard. Forward, go. Great work. Great.
Oh, great sweep there.
Excellent sweep to get that to the forefoot. Good adjustment by the skip and good weight judge by the sweepers to get it there.
Absolutely. So that will be a score of 1 for Landon Rooney. So Team Massey has the hammer here in the second end. So Matt, I just want to take this moment to congratulate you on your extremely successful season.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was, you obviously couldn't hope for much better out of a year, that's for sure. But, we put a lot of work into the season, and it was really nice to see it pay off in so many different ways and at so many different levels.
So you, just in case the people listening don't know, so you won the World Junior Championship, and you played second for Tyler Tardy.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the import
yes,
on that team.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
So, for juniors, they don't allow an import like they do for men. So I had to, give up school and everything I had here to move out there for a year to play with them. I was living with Tyler. And, it was one of those things that it was a tough decision to make. But at the time, Tyler was the defending world champion. And when the defending world champ gives you a call and asks if you want to play with them, that's an opportunity that you can't really afford to pass up at if you want to compete at this sport. So that was something I did, and it was a big move, and it was putting a lot on the line. And, obviously couldn't ask for a better way to end it, and that it all worked out at the end of the day. So very happy with that.
Yeah. Now, Tyler has still another year to go in juniors, correct?
Yes, Tyler and Sterling both do. And, it's actually really cool. The Canadian juniors will be in Langley next year, his home club. So, that would be a really cool experience for your last year of juniors to be playing the Canadians at your home club. If, if they get there. And yeah, so I'm sure he's excited for next season to get out and play and hopefully find 2 more guys. Alex and I, the front end, both aged out, so they'll need to find 2 more guys to do that. But I know he's really excited to possibly have the opportunity to do that in his hometown.
Oh yeah, that would be really exciting for him.
Just the handle. All right, nice, good. You got it. Top 4. Same weight, just a hair more positive.
So Team Massey here has the hammer, second end.
I think we're going to see some rocks in play here, Mary.
It looks like it.
Good line. 6, 7. 7, 7. We might have to tick. That's fine. Might have to tick. Curl. 8. Close. 8. Yeah, we got to. We have to use it. Whoa, whoa. Whoa. Okay, get this right. Roll those in, roll those in. Roll it in, roll it in. Okay.
Well, he was trying the draw there, just did not curl up enough for him.
That didn't move anywhere.
Yeah, just the sweepers were calling just a little bit extra weight. They were calling like a back 4 kind of thing most of the way. And it seemed to come down a little bit at the end and get that curl, but some, depending on how the ice is, just that pound extra will make it run just that much straighter.
Yeah.
Definitely 3 center guards was probably not what Massey was hoping for coming into this end, but
no.
Sometimes you got to play with what you're dealt.
Yes.
The rocks are dead. Yeah, you're probably.
Interesting comment. They said the rocks are dead. I think they've been pretty lively here this week. So,
it could. There's multiple things that could cause that. It could. If it's the rocks themselves, it's likely the striking band and how well they're transferring their momentum to each other. It could be the houses too, especially usually early in the morning. It's the houses could just be a little bit more dead, especially it's only the second end. There hasn't been much play in the house at this end yet, so could just be a little extra pebble in the house that's just catching the rocks a little bit more than they're expecting. I would expect that to change as the game goes on and everything gets worn down a little bit more though.
Just to let our viewers know, they are able to go on to the TSL website and watch all the games that have been filmed here already this week. They're all downloaded on tsl.ca. Just go to tournaments and click on U18. You'll see all the men's and women's games.
Good throw. That was kind of weird. We couldn't really bring it back. And one's tight. 5. One's good. 6. Switch. Hold in. 6. Yep, one's good. Make it good, guys. One's perfect. Yep. Never off, never off. Gotta go. Okay, good. Really nice. Let me try it now. Pick it out. I don't. 3/4.
Definitely some rocks in play here, Matt.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to see Grant Schnurr here try to clear out the front a little bit. Rooney's team making an excellent freeze there on their last one. And having a really good setup. So you're going to try and see them just open up the center and hopefully get out of this end without too much trouble.
Little better, but still leaves a couple of guards out front.
Yeah, they still have some work to do, leaving that center guard up there with his shooter. The good thing does roll a little bit off. You might have opened up the other red guard tight to the rings.
Right.
For play later, but yes, still definitely lots of work to do in order to avoid a big end here.
Really? So I curled a ton.
This one's looking a little heavy. Not what you want to be on this shot.
No. Oh, it's starting to curl now, though.
Yeah, you were right on the pin.
A little bit unfortunate there. Just a hair heavy and doesn't
Yeah.
get the curl that he would have liked to. Looks like there might be some kind of a double chance.
Yeah, it's fine.
You think you can kill them all there, Matt?
Depends how hard you can throw it.
Yeah, you got to throw it pretty hard.
But yeah, I think about a half rock, hit a half rock into the other yellow. You'll definitely get the yellow. You'll definitely lose the red at the back of the button. And
Yes.
I think you're more just hoping that that yellow in the forefoot sort of just spins out into the open
Yeah.
from behind those guards.
Hard. 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 Clean. Whoa.
Or he'll do you one better and
Wow.
keep the red in play there.
I'm actually surprised that red one stayed.
I am too. I thought for sure that it's actually almost a little unfortunate that it didn't move.
Yes.
It stays at the back of the forefoot and still gives Rooney the chance to freeze one down here.
Yeah.
Almost would have liked to move that red at least into the 8 foot.
8 foot, yeah.
Although that other yellow does spin out into the side of the 12 foot there. Should be able to see maybe half a rock. Might
Yeah.
be an off opportunity later. We'll
Yeah.
keep an eye on that.
Still looks heavy, guys. Looks heavy.
Calling for a little bit heavy here. Weight seemed not too
Yeah.
bad, Matt.
Weight's actually okay. The bigger problem was actually the line.
Yeah.
If that was the exact same weight and just a foot less ice or a foot more curl or whatever it was, then
Yeah.
it would have been absolutely perfect. But stays out and gives Charlie Randall here the chance to draw down onto it, and you don't even need to move it to sit too. You put a rock right on top of that yellow, and it's going to be very tough for Rooney to deal with.
Good line. Where? Go. Yes. Yes.
Oh dear, this one's going early.
Hard. 6. Just feel it. Feel it. Hard. Hard.
So going to open it up here.
Never got quite out there.
So maybe a bit of a tricky spot there. He's saying he didn't quite get out to the broom.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but you know, that is, it looked like they were caught a little bit on it. It looked like they thought it was at least okay for the
Yeah.
first little bit out of his hand and then kind of panicked. So,
Yeah.
you know, might have caught a little bit of fresh pebble or
Yeah.
might have grabbed a little bit and just spun in. But, yeah, definitely a missed opportunity there by the Massey team.
If you sweep it, it shouldn't curl. Yeah. They're coming in top 8. I can.
So Team Rooney, they don't have hammer here. They are sitting shot rock right now, I believe, Matt.
Yeah,
Yellow.
definitely looks that way.
So where would you want to go with this one?
I think, honestly, I would say the ideal spot would be to try to get to the top button. Try and sit that second shot if you can. I think they were talking about maybe trying to go top 12 and block it off, which is
Right.
definitely sort of an opportunity. It definitely one of the things. The thing you have to be careful about that though is you definitely want to bury a piece around this red. At the end of the day, weight is a little bit less of an issue here. You want to bury about half rock or a third around that tight red guard.
Right.
The reason for that is if you're open, you'll give Connor the chance to have some kind of a nose double and get rid of your yellows. And if you over curl dead buried, then he might be able to run that red guard in and
Right.
make a double. So line is definitely the key issue here.
Now this one came up really light.
I think
And I think Connor's right. I think that they might still have an opportunity here to maybe get to the nose, and all you got to do is just tap it out of the forefoot to
Yeah.
set up your 2 points.
So we've seen a couple rocks come down here. Some of them run a little straight. A couple of them have over curled. So that can kind of get in your head too, Matt. You know, maybe a little bit of indecision on what will it actually do down this path.
Oh, absolutely. You know, my experience as a skip, these are the really tough ones when you've seen a couple shots go either way, and
Yeah.
you kind of got both back in the back of your head. And what you really need to do is just, you know, trust what you've been seeing out there as a skip. You have an idea of what your teammates have been doing all year. So
Right.
if a rock over curls and you even have that feeling that, you know, he might have just gotten started or he was a little bit tight to the broom, you just got to trust that. Trust where you're putting the broom, and really the most important thing with these shots is your weight control. You
Your
really
weight.
need to
Yes.
focus on not overthrowing these kinds of shots, and it looks like he may have done just that right here.
Okay, go. Whoa. Like, whoa. You sweep it by, but like it's not.
Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. That was just overthrown. The weight control was not there. I think if he had had less weight, that line would have actually been perfect.
And the tough thing is about those shots is you want so badly to tap it back and sit your two, but especially something like that where it's half buried, you haven't really seen rocks curling that hard there. You really need to focus on just throwing for a freeze, or maybe just throw to tap it an inch on your own, and then once the line's good, you can let your sweepers do the rest of the work.
Right. Yeah. Great advice.
Yeah. I think we take a lot of ice then. I think we take edge. Be safe. Get a little more.
Both teams trading opportunities this end, and
Yeah.
if Rooney can come up with a really good one here, then Connor it'll be tough to score one, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, we're going to try and come in. I can't leave him a double for two.
Yeah, if he can come half around those staggered guards, as they call the Christmas tree.
So I think this is a very similar shot call to what he had on his last one. Just try and go like top 8, top 4, half buried around the guard, and really put the pressure on Massey to make a good one.
Yeah.
Line's good. Line's fine. Line's fine. Kevin's rock.
Line's looking really nice on this one.
Get good, guys. Go, Kev. Go, Kev. As far as you can go. Hard. Keep going. That's pretty good.
That's pretty nice.
Great adjustment there by
Yeah.
Rooney.
Pretty good.
Looks like there might be a draw opportunity through that port on the right-hand side. Only question mark with this shot is they've been playing the other side of the sheet all in, so
Yeah.
a little bit of a question mark about what it'll be doing, but I believe this is the same side as their draw for hammer, so if they decide to throw the draw, he should be close.
If he comes right up to his own back one there, will he be shot? Because it's a tight port when you're coming in with the angles.
I think
Matt.
it'll be very close. If he does come to his back one, I think he definitely needs to be at least to nose or,
Yes.
or a hair to the inside to grab a piece of the button. I think it will be good enough if he does come to the back red, but definitely want to make sure the line's good and you get enough curl.
So last shot here in the second end, Team Massey. Drawing a piece of the button here. Line looks pretty good here. They got to watch the weight. Oh. So, one yellow. Steal here for Rooney in the second end. So 2-0 lead now for Team Rooney. Well, that was well thrown. I think maybe a little lack of communication there. They were really hoping, worried that was going to wreck on the guard, but really it it was fine, and the weight was a little up.
Yeah, I think that was really all it came down to. I think the weight was good out of his hand, and they just sort of panicked a little bit with the sweep trying to hold the line there. And whether, maybe it was just because it was a new spot and they weren't sure what it was going to do. You want to make sure you get through the hole to give yourself a chance. But, yeah, maybe just a little bit of miscommunication. I wasn't really hearing much from the sweepers in terms of letting him know that the weight was there.
The weight was good, exactly.
That's one of those things that you talk about in your between end meetings.
Yes.
As the other team is throwing, you just talk about what was going on. Maybe the sweepers let them know that they were trying to let them know it was heavy, and then you just talk, okay, well, we need to be a little bit louder, a little bit more clear about these kinds of things. Those are all the little things that you go through in between ends so that when the same thing comes up again, you can perform it a little bit better.
Right. So let's meet these teams here, Matt. We've got Ben Lobo just threw his first rock here for Team Rooney. And Ben goes to Durham College from Oshawa. 18 years old.
And you see here the opening rocks for Team Massey, thrown by John McCutcheon. 17 years old, curls at the Bayview Golf and Country Club in Toronto. Has a significant amount of experience I'm looking at here. U18 mixed, U21, Canada Games trials, OFSA, mixed doubles. So definitely good enough experience, and hopefully bring in a little bit of that experience to the team this week as they push for the playoffs.
He put up a corner guard there. He would have liked that a little tighter to the rings. That really, really curled out of his hand.
Yeah, one or the other. Would have liked a little bit more weight in that spot or be a little bit closer to the center.
Right.
Ideally, you'd like those to be sort of just covering the edge of the 8 foot.
Right.
To give yourself enough room to work with later in the end, but you don't want to be going out wide to new spots while you're trying to score a deuce. So those are always a question mark.
So Ben's been to the U21 provincials last year, Canada Winter Game Trials in 2019, where he was in the semifinals.
And the Canada Games Trials, that's a new addition to the sort of curling scene this year in Ontario. Back 4 years ago when I went to the Canada Games, it was just, you had to win Ontario Winter Games and you automatically earned your spot there. Now it's not so much the same. Winning Ontario Games gets you a spot to the trials, and then there's a whole nother event you have to win. So having a dedicated event to that really sort of ups the pressure, and you see who's going to come out on top. And we had two great representatives for Ontario at the Canada Games this year, in Del Conte and Team Crozier from Northern Ontario. Crozier coming home with the gold medal and Del Conte with the silver. So we're all very proud of those guys for the work that they did at the Canada Games. And
actually, Del Conte was here yesterday. He brought his medal. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I'd come yesterday. That would have been really cool to see. But that's definitely an experience that you take with you for the rest of your life. And the Canada Games, a completely different experience, run just like an Olympics with a village, and you hang out with all the other athletes all the time. So it's such a cool experience, and definitely something that those two teams will take with them for the rest of their lives.
Hard, right to it, right to it. Hard, man, right to it. Never off, Ben, never off. Right to it, right to it.
This is Kevin Ganyaga, second for this Rooney team. Makes a nice shot there.
Great hit and roll.
Yes, absolutely.
So Grant Schnurr once again being asked to open things up for his team a little bit. You really love to actually stick around for a corner guard here if you can, and make the double peel. Grant Schnurr curls out of the Whitby Curling Club and makes an excellent shot there.
Oh, wow. You called that one, Matt.
Yeah, that was the big thing. Sometimes you like to whip those down and try to make as many rock moves as you can, but obviously you see here a great outcome if you focus on just keeping that corner guard and really putting the pressure on the other team to continue to make shots.
Yeah, that was just a beauty. So Kevin, Kevin got into curling. His mom signed him up and he loved it immediately. He watched it on TV. That's how he got interested in it. He's got a lot on his resume too. 2018 U21 Provincials, Canada Winter Games, Trials. 2019 U18 Provincials, which is this one here. He's going to be in the Mixed Provincials next month.
That's fine, Kev.
This path is quite a bit, I think a 4 on this.
We see here Grant Schneider's second shot. Looking at his resume here, another experienced curler with Canada Games Trials, Ontario Winter Games, U21, U18s. The big thing that sticks out to me here is actually he attended the U18 Nationals last year as the 5th for Team Leung.
Right.
Who's also competing here this week. We've seen him a couple times.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's his older brother curls on that Leung team, so I'm sure, you know, getting to experience a national is always an awesome opportunity, whether it's as a player or fifth or a coach or anything like that. And I'm sure, you know, watching his brother curl at that level all week would have really lit a fire in him to hopefully have the same success and really go for it this week and establish himself as well.
Yeah, lots of siblings in this sport of ours that compete with and against each other.
Yeah, you'll generally see siblings playing together as they normally do as they're growing up, and their families just put them on teams together. But always nice to see them playing against each other too. Adds a little bit of added intensity to the sport.
It does. This is Matthew Preveno, third for the Rooney team. Goes to Woodlands Secondary School, lives in Mississauga. Also has lots of provincial experience, U21 Provs with Rooney, U18 Provs. As a skip, Canada Winter Game Trials in 2019.
Well, we don't want to make a
Yeah, I know. I think I thought I threw it fine.
All right. Just make sure we don't create a pocket.
So just rolling off there a little bit on that freeze is a little bit unfortunate. It gives the opportunity to Charlie Randall here to really turn the pressure up if he can make a little bit of a hit and roll on top of his red. Definitely these are the ones that you don't want to overthrow. You got lots of room to roll on the inside.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Roll the other way. I don't want to leave it go.
All right.
Looks like they were trying to call that one to roll away.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he was just making that decision once he saw that it wasn't going to curl. However,
definitely got caught a little bit in between, though. Those rocks staying close together.
Yeah.
It's curling so hard there.
Maybe a double.
So hard there.
Maybe a double, but it will be tough to get to the inside to do that.
Yeah, and if he does make this double, still not a bad situation.
Okay.
Looks like he is just calling the hit and roll, though. I think this is definitely an experience call. You don't want to take a crack at that double and roll over top and miss everything. So really focus on just trying to keep your shooter around. If you make a little bit of a roll over and put that pressure on the other team, then that's always a good thing. You know, sometimes it doesn't really come down to, you know, making the perfect shot all the time. But if you can continue to just do little things that just turn up the pressure a little bit more on the other team every shot, eventually you'll see them crack, and then that's your opportunity to really put the pressure on. There you go, just like that. Excellent outcome there. Making it a little bit tougher on the Massey team.
So the good thing for the Massey team is they are playing around these corner guards. Massey is down a couple points. They can make a nice little chap and lie here.
Exactly. That's all you can really hope for right now. Play is never going to clog up around that center line right now the way things are. So at the end of the day, Connor's always going to have a wide open draw to the 8-foot, which is all you can hope for as a skip. And right now you're really just trying to generate that second point.
Really got to go on this one. Looks pretty good. Don't want to roll too far.
That's a great shot.
It's a beauty, yeah. Of course, then that's going to force the Rooney team here into freezing on top of those.
You have some strong fists, man. So that actually hurt.
So Rooney's going to have to come up with a big shot here to limit the scoring opportunity for Connor Massey.
Yeah. Going to try to freeze down on those red rocks.
The good thing here is he would have seen the exact same shot earlier in this end from his second, the one where they just rolled off slightly. So hopefully they have a little bit of a better idea of how this path is running, and he can come up with a good freeze here.
This is Landon Rooney. Landon is 17 years old. From Mississauga, Ontario. Don't want to roll it off here, really. Just a little heavy on that one, Matt.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate outcome, whether it just slid a little bit better than they thought or a little bit of nerves there showing themselves. Connor Massey looking to put lots of pressure on Rooney here with a good setup. If he can roll, if he can hit and roll a couple rocks over to the other side of the 4-foot here, I mean, that's going to be tough to not score too in that situation.
Yeah, if he can roll, it's going to force Rooney to have to hit that one, Matt, and
so watching the last shot here coming from Connor Massey, curls out of the Bayview Golf and Country Club.
definitely wants to stick around here. This is not going to. It's going to roll out. Just that's too bad.
Well, that was like control. It wasn't down. I thought it was like board down.
Same ice, less weight. We were like here.
So again, talking after that shot, maybe a little bit of miscommunication.
Yeah.
They thought it was, one of them thought it was a little bit lighter than it actually was, and maybe you panic on the sweep a little bit, and you see it just running a little bit straighter than you would like.
Yeah, so that's a real missed opportunity because it's now going to give Team Rooney a chance to make this shot again that he just threw. He wants to freeze into those yellows, take the end away.
Yeah, like you said, a big missed opportunity. If he had made that hit and roll to the side of the 4, would have really put the pressure on Rooney to either hit the one he threw and try to maybe make a big weight double, or put a lot on the line trying to make a freeze and cut him down. So lets him off the hook a little bit, gets him another look at the same shot. Now he still has to make it, obviously, but yeah, definitely would have loved to turn up the pressure there.
So last shot for Rooney here in the third end. Playing the freeze.
You know, it's one of those cardinal sins in curling to give the opposing skip the same shot twice to get out of the end. So we'll see how Rooney adjusts here.
This one's looking pretty good.
Right to it. Whoa. Easy. Yeah, Curly, hard. Really good.
Pretty nice shot.
Can we just...
And that's why right there, great shot by Rooney to really cut down the scoring opportunities for Connor Massey.
I think if we come in and hit 3/4, it'll jam here for 2. We kind of got to move it.
Oh, they might still see something for 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's there.
So they're talking about trying to.
What?
Getting that out is pretty hard.
Yeah, board.
Let's just listen to the players here for a second.
Okay.
If he knows it, this will go on here.
That,
We'll just have to
yeah,
pound
you
this
gotta keep it a
out.
mile. Okay, I think it's worth a shot. Okay. Here. Board.
So he thinks, Matt, that he can throw just a nice, I don't know, back line
Get close to the nose.
weight, get to the nose of this, and move it to get a couple points.
Yeah, I heard board come up a little bit.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think you're right. I think they're trying to basically hit as much as they can. The one red will definitely jam on the other one. It's not going anywhere. The question is whether or not they can get the yellow out.
Yeah. I don't think they can with this kind of weight.
Not
but
with board. I
No.
don't think so. Definitely would have with normal maybe.
Well, I
but
was
this
thinking
is-
that, Matt, if you threw hard takeout at it, you're going to lose one red, but you could. Yeah, he's not going to make this. If you could throw hard takeout at that and really get some movement out of that yellow rock, you could have maybe.
Yeah, it was one of those tough ones. If you throw it hard, you can definitely get the yellow out.
Yeah.
Throw it light, you're definitely hoping to keep your shooter around. So it's finding that little bit of an in-between. Is there a weight where both are possible? And I'm not sure there. But really the big mistake was there you have to score. You have to, at the end of the day, you're down 2-0 after 2. You want to be the next team to put a point on the board. So you have to throw that either some kind of weight or throw it in some way where at the very least you're probably going to hit
get
3/4 and stick around for your 1 point. So
Yeah.
big miss there, allowing the steal to happen. And
Yeah, that's.
Landon Rooney maybe smoke and mirroring his way through this game.
Yes.
Definitely missed opportunities on both sides, but Rooney coming up on top right now.
So a 3-0 game here now for Team Rooney over Massey, playing the fourth end. So just to update everyone on the other sheets. On sheet 1, we have Team Lung is up 3-0 over Team Goves. Over on sheet 3, we have McNamara up 6-0 over Ingalls. And sheet 4, we have Nepage up 3-1 over Team Jones. They're all in their fourth end of play. Well, Matt, we still got lots of time here for this team that's down 3 points. But he definitely is going to want to score a couple soon.
Absolutely, yeah. Patience is obviously the biggest thing. You see it at all levels when you go down. A lot of teams will try too hard, thinking they need to score lots of points and put, especially in the 5-rock rule.
Yeah.
You see this is where you will sometimes start to see it creep up. You'll see them throw both corners, and if the other team gets a good setup, top 4, top 12, and a guard all in a line, this is actually where you start to see games get out of control if you're not careful, because you try so hard for that deuce and you leave their rocks sitting around and you leave them in good positions, and this is where you actually start to see more steals creep up, just simply because the team that is down will sometimes try too hard to get those points back. So the big thing here, I think, for Connor Massey will be a little bit of patience and really try to come together as a team and talk about, what hasn't been working. We've seen a little bit of some miscommunication on a couple shots. We've seen them just get caught on a couple passes. So this is where you really need to come together as a team and talk about those kinds of things.
Yes.
Really vocalize, exactly what paths are doing what. What are the shots that we're having miscommunication on, so that hopefully you can get better in the second half of this game.
Good advice. This one looks nice around that corner guard. That's fine though, Matt. It gets it off the 4-foot.
Oh yeah, that's all you really needed to do there. You wanted to get it out of the way, and then if Rooney doesn't make a good roll back here, then you'll have the opportunity to hopefully make a roll under yourself. And if Rooney does make a good roll here, it looks like they might just be back pin.
Right.
And you might be able to freeze one on.
This one's moving. Ooh.
And here's the opportunity you're hoping for if you're Connor
Exactly.
Massey, the chance to go around that corner guard. You won't be shot, it looks like, if you're buried, but I think the whole goal right now is to just get a couple rocks in the rings that hopefully Rooney will leave around, and maybe you get one or a miss and you have an opportunity for a multiple score at the end.
So really got to bear down here and get this rock somewhere in the rings behind that corner guard. Very nice shot.
Slipping a little bit deeper than they would have liked, but at this point in the end, that's not really that much of an issue.
Yeah.
So you will see Rooney make an attempt at this rock in the rings with a hack weight hit. This is one of those ones, you know, big thing to really succeed in curling, one of the big things you always have to be thinking about is your tolerance.
Right.
If you're going to miss, what way is the best way to miss? And right now the way to miss is ticking this guard.
Right.
Which it looks like he might do.
He's doing, yeah.
So you want to get something out of every shot. And this is one of the shots where, yes, he missed the shot that he was called, but he got a good outcome out of it. He got rid of the corner guard. So it opens up that red rock in the house and rolls kind of in front of his other one. Maybe rolls a hair too far, unfortunately, and sort of maybe gets rid of one corner guard but leaves another one for Massey on the other side. So
So he's got a couple of options here, Matt. He's choosing to come around the center. Would you ever just put up another corner on your own rock at this point, early in the end?
you could. You definitely could. You're still on seconds rocks. There's lots of time. You could definitely guard that red. I think the line of thinking that they're going down right now is that that red is doing the job that you put it there to do. It's going to be a distraction for the Rooney team. Rooney may just go and hit it later, and if he doesn't, then he's playing with his own risk.
Right.
So seeing them come around this center guard here, I was a little bit surprised. I thought they were going to maybe look at going around the other corner or maybe playing onto the other yellow, but a good outcome here, putting it right top four, dead buried around that guard. So Rooney will have a decision to make here.
He peels. Do you like to hit in line 3? That's fine, yeah. I don't mind it. I say if we lie 3.
So Rooney team is looking to peel this yellow one out and hoping to maybe get the side one on the red side one out as a bonus, or the run back to the one on the 4 foot.
You know, this is a very experienced call here. A lot of the times you'll see teams try to, ooh, a little unfortunate there to miss everything.
Yeah.
But that's definitely an experienced call. You know, a lot of times you will see teams try and draw their way out of that and freeze. And, you know, if you're going to make it, it all works at the end of the day. But that's taking on a lot of risk right now when you're up 3-0. So just run up, try to run something back. You would have liked to peel that guard if you were going to miss, maybe roll off the center a little bit more.
Yeah.
But at the very least, it's still your color up there. You have the opportunity to run it back later.
Yeah.
Connor Massey going to try and turn up the pressure cooker here, though. If he can get one sort of half buried around this guard top 8, then you're seeing a lot of red rocks start to pile up in the rings.
This one's not moving, so they have to decide what to do with this.
Making a late decision to keep it up a little bit higher.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely the right call. You definitely want to make that double as tough as possible. And the good thing is if he does try his hand at this double and the one in the forefoot, very good chance that it could just jam on his own.
Yeah, he's really got to watch that, Matt.
So I think they're going to...
Connor, just a hair less.
So I think they're going to try to avoid that, recognizing that they are still second shot. So going to bring the weight down a little bit and try and just more so hit and roll behind the center guard.
Right.
Oh, he's got the other double.
So not a bad outcome. Really does what they were hoping to do. Rolls a little bit farther and does give Charlie Randall the opportunity to draw around here once again to set up something good. Hopefully they can adjust the ice after that last one and figure out how to get around that center guard. So Charlie Randall here curls out of the Bayview Golf and Country Club, and good amount of experience for him too. He actually was the silver medal winner at this provincial last year, so hoping to improve on that. Silver 1 year ago. Has experience U18 boys, U21 mixed, and his hobbies, this was actually really cool to read. He, I guess, is a coach for the Special Olympics basketball team, so really great to see athletes always giving back to sport in general as much as you can, and he would like to give a shout out to that Special Olympics team who maybe, if they're watching today, so great to see athletes giving back to sport in general.
Absolutely. And a great shot there by Charlie.
Yeah, still not quite getting the curl they would have liked. There may be a double here. You might be able to see enough to double out the one in the 8-foot and the 4-foot. But you can see they're making the adjustments. They're getting a little bit closer every time. And even if they make this double, though, they will roll away, and Connor will have the chance to wrap one around that guard.
Yeah, lucky for the Rooney team, that yellow that's at the back of the 8-foot is out-counting the red one over on the wing. So I think that one's pretty secure in there.
Yeah, and you've sort of seen a number of sort of just slightly missed shots that have really solidified that rock's position back there. We've seen the guards be pushed over just a little bit at the time, and now it's going to be very tough to get to that rock.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, he did make the double, pushes them away enough. Rolls away, though, and does give Connor the opportunity to draw one around here, top 4 maybe.
I think we're... Yeah, this one. Yeah, I know. And this one. That's the last shot, Draw here. Right there. Really good. But, oh yeah, also just remember if we go here, we might not have this later. That's fine. We'll take to the simpler. Okay, make it really good.
Very good discussion there by the Connor Massey team. You know, he recognized that, yes, yellow is sitting, looks like 1-2 right now, and he may have, there is the opportunity for a really thin double, but I love the last comment he made. Let's get to the simple way here. No need to risk, no need to take any extra risk with a big shot, especially down 3. He recognizes, you know, you make 2 good shots here, you get your deuce, which is all you really wanted out of this end. So just focus on that. If you get a miss or you get the opportunity for more points, then you can go for it. But really all you got to do is just make 2 curling shots here to walk away with the deuce and be happy with this end.
Whoa, Grant's in. Actually, John.
So first shot here for Connor Massey.
This one's still hanging out there. They're gonna need. This is gonna need to curl to get around that guard.
They might want to curl it here as much as they can get.
Good spot. It's pretty good. I think it's good. Probably jam.
Nice weight, Matt. Just
Yeah, perfect weight, and it doesn't actually end up in that bad a spot. It is looks like it's about half open, but it's not easy for Rooney. If he does make a play on that red, you know, and hit as much as he can see, it looks like it's going back somewhere close to that yellow in the 8-foot. And I mean, you'd hate to see that. If he ever jams it, he could roll in under his other one, and you know, then Connor's getting everything he would have ever hoped for out of this end. So you do have to be very careful with this shot. I wouldn't be surprised to even see maybe some kind of a freeze here. You know, up 3.
Yeah.
Or what he's looking at right now is even top 12 choking off the draw path for Connor. This is really thinking out the spot, and you know, you're sitting 2-3, you're up 3, really giving up a deuce. At the end of the day, isn't really bad. I think you're actually happy with it to get the hammer back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely I love the idea that they're looking at right now. Don't even take on the risk of doing anything with that red. Just throw a freeze down or a draw and try and really close the scoring area for Connor.
So last shot here for Landon Rooney in the 4th end. Just playing a freeze. Trying to shrink this scoring area for Massey.
Line's pretty good. No, look heavy, guys. Just wait. Bends in. Oh, no, line's good. Line's fine. Make it good. No bounce. Bends in. No bounce. Bends rock forward. Looks heavy. Yeah. Don't for the ball. Still bend. Just straight rock.
Okay.
That's a great shot by Rooney there.
Yes.
Closing down the scoring area just a little bit more, and you know, you just tell Connor, go make your shot. And, you know, even if he does, it's only 2. You're still up 1 with going in to the second half of this game, and I'm sure Rooney's very happy with how they played the first half of this game.
Yeah. Pretty important shot here for Connor Massey in the 4th here. Needs to draw a piece of the 4-foot here to get his 2 points.
And just looking over at sheet 3, we actually have handshakes.
My goodness.
Just saw the outcome of that end. Inglis having to make a run back against 3 rocks to with his last. Got rid of one of them, but rolled out to give up a steal of 2. So,
oh, wow.
McNamara comes out with the 8-0 win after 4 ends. Looking at this sheet here, maybe a little bit of a plan B.
Plan B, but it works. So a big score of 2 points here on sheet 4 for Connor Massey. Puts this game at a 3-2 score. And it is 4th end now. Teams will take a break, and we will be back right after the break. And welcome back to draw 6 of this men's U18 Ontario Curling Championship. Brought to you by Curl On and Title Sports Live. I'm Mary Chilvers, and I'm joined here by the reigning world champion, Matt Hall. We've had the pleasure of having Matt here this morning, and we'll have Matt sitting with us again here this afternoon. Just starting the 5th end of play here, Massey and Rooney. Rooney is up 1, playing the 5th end with hammer.
And you know, Mary, coming off that first half of the game, I think the big thing for Connor Massey's team to realize is that the difference in this game is really only 1 or 2 shots. You know, it came down to the 2 steals. The one was just unfortunate that they got into a tough situation and Connor had to make a draw in a spot they hadn't seen yet. And the other one, they had a great setup going into Skip's Rocks, and it was really just one missed opportunity that allowed Rooney to get back and really cut down their scoring area and eventually come out with a steal. So if you can realize that this game is really, the difference in this game is only like 1 or 2 shots. You take that with you. You try to improve on the communication and the things we talked about in the first half of the game, and you know, you just try to make 2 more curling shots the rest of the game. You don't need to get it all back in one end. You just need to grind a little bit, and if you can make 2, 3, 4 more curling shots just by improving those little tiny things, sometimes that's all it takes to win a curling game. So
absolutely,
we'll see how they adjust to that as we go into the second half of this game here.
Have you done any coaching, Matt? Because that's very, very good advice.
I've done every now. I have a little bit of experience. I've coached at a junior spiel, a couple junior spiels in the past. I've coached at the Trillium Curling Camp. I've done that the past couple years. So I'll plug that one a little bit. Yeah, but you know, I have a little bit of experience doing that, working with people, and you know, that's something that I would like to hopefully do moving forward. I have my coaching certification. So moving forward, now that I'm out of juniors, I might look a little bit into maybe helping out with how I can at this level, and yeah, we'll see how that all turns out, right? Like, I'm figuring out my men's team, everything like that, and you know, if something comes along the line and it's a good opportunity for me, then I'll see what I can do to help somebody out.
So are you going to give us away any secrets on what your plans are for next year in the men's?
I would love to, Mary, but unfortunately I think I got to keep that down a little bit. I do have lots of opportunities that I'm trying to figure out right now, but it's still very much in the preliminary stages. I just moved back to Ontario about a week and a half ago, so still figuring all that out, talking to a number of people on goals, commitments, things like that, and you know, just hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll be a little bit closer, and then maybe if you're nice, I'll send you a text before it all goes public.
Okay, because we will want to announce that on our podcast, you know.
Oh, for sure, I'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
Have to say I'm a big fan of the podcast, by the way.
Are you?
I'll just play. Yeah, I've listened to it a couple times every now and then, and I think it's just awesome. I think they're great insights, and it's just a lot of fun to listen to.
Thank you.
So going back, we heard before the break that there were handshakes on sheet 3. McNamara coming out with the 8-0 win over Inglis. So talking about the standings, McNamara doing what he needs to do to stay alive with that win, moving to 3-3. Inglis with that loss moving to 2-4, and we've already talked a couple times this draw about avoiding that 4th loss. May not be mathematically out. We won't know till after this draw, but definitely not the position you want to put yourself in with only 1 game to play.
For sure.
While we're on the subject of the other games, let's take a look across the sheets. We look at sheet 1. Leung with a 4-1 advantage over Team Goves with the hammer. So Goves has some work to do there. And over at sheet 4, a very close game. Page with the 3-2 advantage over Team Jones. They also have the hammer, so up 1 with. A good position to be going into the second half of the game, and we'll keep you updated on the outcome and continuing progress of those games as we move forward.
And over here on our feature sheet, Massey is down one without right now in this fifth end. He's got one on the 4-foot guarded. Of course, the Rooney team are not going to take any chances. They're going to be peeling away here.
Yeah, and you saw it looked like Rooney was going to go a little bit more aggressive this end, throwing up the corner after the center guard was thrown. Massey goes around and kind of an accidental tick out of the lead second shot, but a great outcome nonetheless. You couldn't really hope for much better with the hammer. I believe they were trying to come around, but they ticked the center guard off, move out of the way, and now you're probably just going to see this happen all end. Massey will continue to guard, and it's really going to be up to Rooney to decide when he wants to make a play on that rock in the rings.
Right. Now this might be an opening here.
To throw 6 or 7 perfect guards in a row.
Well, I've actually talked about that quite a lot this week, Matt. You would think a guard is a pretty simple shot to make when you're guarding a shot that's in the rings, but it is not. And to make them perfectly, and they have to be perfect.
And you think about it, you're throwing a little bit of a, not sure what happened there, maybe grab something, or might get an outcome either way.
Well, it's gonna move it.
Yeah, still not what they would have hoped for, but
yeah.
But yeah, so like when you're talking about a guard, obviously you're going a shorter distance than you are with a draw. So sometimes what that'll do is it'll really show any sort of inconsistencies in your throw. You know, you put a guard back just a little bit in your release off the broom, and it'll hang there for a long time. And most of the curl, especially the ice we're seeing today, a lot of the curl is really late.
Yes.
It's all sort of hog line in the last quarter of the shot. So when you're only going a couple feet past the hog line, it can be really tough to get that amount of curl with a guard. So it really starts to show the inconsistencies in your throw. Any sort of changes in your release will look a lot more drastic at the other end, and that's probably what we saw with that one guard just a couple shots ago.
Yeah.
You just put it back a little bit on your release, and suddenly it's a foot wider than you would have liked. And it's really not as bad as it seems when it gets down to the other end when you're throwing it, but it's really tough to get those consistent shots, especially with a guard 6, 7, 8 times in a row throughout an end.
So Team Rooney has an opening here. You can see this red rock on the top 4 foot. He's going to make a play on it.
Whoa! 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 Yep! Whoa! Whoa! Clean. Yep! Yep! Whoa! Whoa! Yep! Yep! Roll it down. Roll it down. Hard down, yes!
Hey, Connor.
Shot. We're shot 1. Yeah. Come around. Good shot.
So pretty good shot there by Rooney. Kind of does what he was hoping for.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think he would have liked to stick around to sit shot rock, but the big thing was you got it out of that dangerous area. You got it out of the 4 foot. You've opened up the 8 foot now.
Yeah.
Connor will have the opportunity to hopefully put one top 4 and put the pressure on Rooney a little bit. But as a skip, you got to have that confidence to draw the 8 foot at the end of the day. So if you're confident that you can hit the 8 foot, then really there's only a risk of a steal of 1 at this point.
Right. First shot for Connor Massey. Trying to draw around these center line guards.
John! Hey! John, hey, you're by. You're by.
Calling an 8, which would be back 4, back 8. This is going right out.
A big missed opportunity there by Connor Massey.
Sure is.
gotta make it. If he does, we're forced or they steal. Yeah. He only needs full H to be shot. I don't mind this, honestly. He might line that up still. You always have those two. If he's dead buried right here, that line's right up. Right? Alright. He's not there, but he's anywhere.
You probably need a hair more ice.
And you should have like a hack weight or something. Mine finished at the end, that hack. Like if I make this, what's he doing? He's probably coming on top of me and trying to force. Yeah. Like I just think, like is it the same thing? If I go here, he freezes. I drop that. Yeah, it's such a tough. It's like it bends at the end. If I make this good, we're getting one at least. I'll drop it. If I do that, he's probably making that. We're forced. Very line. Okay. I can always hit that on my last shot, right? I think a little more than that, actually. Not.
So that was a good discussion, Matt.
It was. You know, I was actually just thinking, I think they might be overthinking this situation a little bit. My first instinct was if you double off the reds on the other side of the rings, you sit two.
Yes.
And obviously Rooney's concern was that if he did that, you might see Connor just go around the center guard anyways and try and get his force that way. So he's going to try and beat him around this, get one top four, and then if Connor does make the freeze, you have an open draw on the other side for you too.
Right.
That being said, if you hit the other rocks and you sit your two shots, if I was Landon Rooney, I would be happy to see Connor risking a three to try and get a steal.
Right.
Eventually, if you can keep having those opportunities, if you can keep giving yourself those opportunities to possibly score a two or a three, sometimes the other skip is just going to continue to make it and sort of take that opportunity away from you. But if you keep putting yourself in those positions, eventually you're going to get a miss, or eventually you're going to get a half shot that'll allow you to capitalize on that opportunity. So I liked both calls. My worry there was that they were just overthinking the situation a little bit. Now this is a good out. He makes a good shot either way, so looks like Connor's going to try and want to draw around everything now.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit tougher on him, but just by drawing in, sometimes you're almost just putting a couple more rocks in your way.
True.
Whereas if you played to the open side or played the hit, and Connor, even if he does make the good draw, you could probably come around with a hack weight or something like that and make a play on it.
So pretty interesting scenario. So Connor's choosing to play the out turn. Draw. Would love to come around all those guards. Bury this one.
Sweeper's calling out heavy to start with. That's not what you want to hear.
Gotta get this past these guards.
Not sure what happened there, to be honest. The Sweepers were calling out heavy for the first half, and then it sort of over-curled more than they would have liked, and maybe that took a bit of the weight off, or maybe it was a misjudge, or maybe it grabbed something. But coming up top 8, pretty good plan B. I mean, that's what we talked about before.
Yeah.
Rooney knew if he made the draw that Connor could make the freeze and cut down his scoring error, which he has essentially done here. But Landon Rooney with an open draw for 2 to really take control of this game in the second half.
We do have another final on sheet 1, Team Lung over Team Goves.
Mine's pretty good. Better heavy run. I don't know. Hold on. Still looks over. Hold on. Should be on the back, man. Oh, no, we're not right now.
Just way too strong on that one.
Yeah, that is a big missed opportunity. 2 points
Absolutely.
would have been huge and would have given you really a stranglehold on this game in the second half.
So yellow takes the single here in the 5th end, putting the score at 4-2, Team Rooney. Massey has hammer in the 6th end.
If you're Connor Massey, you're breathing a sigh of relief right now.
Absolutely.
Luckily, there's no photographs on the scoreboard. You don't know how it happened. All that matters is it was one. You force the opponent and you try to move forward with the hammer now.
Yes.
So talking about that final that Mary just let us know about, Leung moving with that win moves up to 4-2, puts themselves in a great position. Really looking forward to should guarantee themselves at least a tiebreaker with that win moving forward.
Yeah.
And Goves dropping down to 3-3, so dropping back to the pack a little bit, and they'll have to regroup and come back later tonight and hopefully come out with a win. Just took a peek over at the time clocks for both these teams. Fairly even, with about 10.5 minutes for each team. Pretty close to on pace, but maybe a little bit short of what you would like with 3 ends to play. So maybe they'll have to just pick up the pace when they're thinking just a hair, and they should be okay. But definitely want to keep one eye over on that time clock to make sure you're not running yourself too short.
The 32 minutes of thinking time for these 8 ends equates to about 3.75, 3.8 minutes per end.
A good rule of thumb is to try and leave yourself 4 minutes per end. If you can do that, then you know you're just above the pace and you should be okay. So with 3 ends, you'd like to have at least 12 minutes on your clock. And like we said, both teams with between 10 and 10.5. So a little bit short of what you would like to have, but still not an issue quite yet. I wouldn't start panicking about it.
So this one going just a little bit deep for John.
And we have a timeout being called by Connor Massey's team here.
And if you get to here, it's fine.
Okay, first timeout of this game, Matt. Coaches will go out. It is getting down to the crucial part of the game here, so we'll have a listen in.
Yeah, let's listen to what the coach has to say and then comment on that after.
Okay. Oh, we were thinking. No, the guard. Okay, wait. Yeah, okay.
I think we gotta go for the free sport.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yep. I don't like throwing too much weight at this. We really need to keep the shooter. Okay, back line's fine. You like back line? Back 12.
How skinny are we rolling it? Do you want to roll to a 3 or do you want to roll top 12?
Top 12 is better, so I'm trying to hit like.
So you want to try to go in?
Here is you want to go in.
If we're in, that's great.
Okay.
If you also roll it here,
So we
I
don't
think
need to move it much over.
no.
So hit it thick.
Yeah.
So coming back from that timeout now, it looks like the discussion was either to play around the center and freeze the shot rock, or looks like what they've decided to do here is try to play the tick on the center guard. Interesting call. Obviously, the tick, there's always some risks involved with it. It is a little bit of a tougher shot, though. Although, if you can make this really well, especially with the way they're playing it, you tick the guard. If you play it with the right weight and hit in the right spot, you probably roll behind your own corner into the ring. So, definitely some good that can come out of this. And if you ever go by the guard, you can always make a play on shot rock as well.
Again, they got to be careful here. They can't remove that rock from play.
Go for the back.
So now they're going to go for the back.
Keep going.
That's not a bad outcome, Matt.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Really, that rock back four though wasn't too much of an issue for this Connor Massey team, but rolling off into the open will present the opportunity. There's nothing really Rooney can do here. He kind of has to hit the back one, and he can't roll, so his only opportunity really is to nose it.
Yeah.
2 rocks in the back of the rings for the Rooney team isn't ideal, so
Yes.
I think if you're Connor Massey, you're still happy with this situation. And that's exactly why you didn't want to roll there, leaving a little bit of a pocket for maybe Massey to use later.
The Team Massey,
Looking back up at this center guard, they want to, it looks like they want to throw board weight, remove the guard, and roll behind the corner.
yeah, they're awfully concerned about this center line guard, which I'm not sure they should be. And if they ever remove this successfully, that corner guard could be very well peeled out. So
Yeah, this is one of the, I think you got to sort of step back, take a look at the situation, know that, yes, if you leave the center guard, Rooney could always have the opportunity to go around at top 4, but Rooney being up 2, I don't think he would risk that. So
Yeah.
you take a look at the situation. Rooney has 2 rocks in the ring, sure, but they're both back house.
Yeah.
They're not really much of a threat at the moment. Rooney would be taking on a fair amount of risk to even try and use that center guard. So I think this was a great opportunity that you could have used to go around the center yourself is one of the calls, or even I was looking at maybe just trying to put one around the corner.
Yes.
Yes, you would sit third shot if you went around the corner, but we talked before, sometimes all you need to do is just get a couple of your rocks hanging around in the rings.
absolutely.
If you go around the corner, then you make Rooney make the decision of how he wants to play this end. He could have gone around the center and tried to force the issue and taken on a bit more risk, or he peels the corner, and that's when you make a play around the center to hopefully
Right.
set up your deuce. So unfortunately, Massey got caught in between both,
Yeah.
not peeling the guard, or removing the guard but not rolling far enough. So Rooney puts a good one around, and now Massey will have to use what's available to him in the center of the sheet, hopefully, to set up a deuce.
Good line. Where? We're back 4. Whoa. You got room. You got room. Post. John.
My mic's about to fall off.
Yep. John, yep. Third side in the house.
Looks like a great shot coming in here.
Yeah, you got to be frozen, though.
Kind of left it.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that they kind of watched that a little bit as it came down. You really needed to make sure that you were to that back one. Line wasn't as much of an issue as the weight was, so.
Yeah, we have noticed here this week around this time it does start to get a little heavier in the slide path, so maybe the sweepers were fooled by that.
I mean, certainly that does happen later on in games. You start to see the slide path come down a little bit, but 6th game of the week, that's something that you should be aware of, and
Yeah.
you should know. So they've seen it now, and hopefully you never want to make sort of the same mistake twice, and you can come out with and make that shot better the next time. Looking over, we have handshakes once again over on sheet 4. Knee-Page coming out with the 7-2 win after 6 ends over Team Jones. With that win, Knee-Page moves up to 5-1 and guaranteeing him a spot in the playoffs here tomorrow. So great outcome for them. Looking over at Team Jones, they dropped to 2-4 with the English team. So we've talked about that 4 losses, how you don't want to be there, but
Yeah.
big win for the Knee-Page team, solidifying their playoff spot and really making a run for that top seed and the bye to the final.
Well, the Massey team makes a nice freeze there.
That's a very good shot on. Well, that's one of the toughest shots in curling, to really lock it on a wide open rock like that. So great outcome there for them, but still the opportunity to possibly remove this stone. And if you hit half a rock, you're going to lose both your yellows probably, but I think Rooney would be happy to see that happen and really take away any opportunity for a freeze for the Connor Massey team. And that's a good shot there. Does leave one of the yellows, so you might see Connor attempt to use that, or you might see him ignore it and just try and go around the guards.
He's going to call the freeze again.
So talking about the standings there for a second, I just looked. So Knee-Page moves to 5-1. The only team that could catch that record would be Team Leung at 4-2.
Yeah.
But Knee-Page did win their game against Team Leung in a 5-4 decision earlier this week. So I believe, I hope I'm right at least, but I believe Knee-Page may have just booked their trip to the final game here tomorrow afternoon. So congratulations to them, and they'll look to just continue to improve in their game this afternoon and hopefully have the opportunity to have hammer and rock color in that final game.
Yeah, you know, getting that bye to the final is a big deal.
It is.
Yes.
You know, and there's always that debate, you know, rest or rust kind of thing. Like, you get that bye to the final and you're playing the team that just came off in the semi, so they have that little bit of experience in that playoff game, but I am always a proponent of that bye to the final. I think it's huge having to, you know, just win that one game rather than 2.
Oh, for
and
sure.
It's a confidence thing too. You go into that final game knowing you were the top team of the field all week, and you take that confidence with you, and having that hammer as well in a playoff game is always huge. So
absolutely.
So good for the Knee-Page team to solidify that, and good luck to them moving forward.
So it looks like we came a little short here on this freeze attempt.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice.
Team Rooney just going to pick this rock out.
He's not guaranteed another year, so hey, I'll keep whatever he's got right now. Yeah. Okay. Well,
We go there. He goes on top.
yeah.
He just comes on top, and then we might even drop a steal.
So talking about this decision by Connor Massey here to freeze the back one, I'm not so sure. I think that's really only playing for a single. I guess if you make the freeze dead perfect, it'll be tough to remove, but we've already seen a couple times this end that a good freeze is removable on this ice. The houses are lively enough if you can throw the weight. So yeah, if you wanted to play for a deuce, I I understand what they were worried about. If you play around that guard, you have to, or the one top 8, you have to go back 4 to be buried enough. And you may see Rooney make the freeze, but I think that freeze is a much tougher shot than what he'll probably be left with here after this one. So sometimes if you want to get yourself back into a game, you have to sort of just put that little bit of extra pressure on the other skip to make one, and if he ever doesn't, then you get your opportunity to score deuce.
This one's really traveling here. Other problem with that mat, you get out into that 12-foot area, and it quite often is faster and straighter.
Yeah, and that's, it comes down to an experience thing to wrap your head around that, because at the start of the game or the first half of the game, it's the opposite.
Yes.
The slide path is usually pretty good, but you don't play out very far that often. So when you do have to go out far, you expect it to be a little bit slower.
Yes.
When you get into the second half of the game, you almost have to reverse that. Slide path is, the pebble's getting a little bit flatter. The slide path or the wider paths have broken down the frost after a whole game of being out there. So you sort of need to make the switch and understand that it will be a little bit quicker if you take that extra foot or so of ice.
Right.
Switch that, you have to switch.
So now Rooney has a chance to really, looks a heavy here. He might be letting Massey off the hook here. This one needed to be top 4, top house. So both skips being a little bit caught in that draw weight. Those are the ones you really want to kick yourself over, Matt.
Yeah, it's some of the toughest thing. And at the end of the day, really the issue there was just understanding the tolerance of the shot. Of course you want to be top 4 dead buried. You want to give the hardest possible shot to the other skip, but you have to understand that if you're 3-4 feet light, if you're top 12, even if you're like a guard that's just tight to the rings, that still puts another rock in Connor Massey's way. By slipping in deep, you're giving Massey another look at that path so that he understands how it's curling, how it's running, and B, you're giving him a little bit more backing to throw to. Right. So a little bit of a miss there, and we'll see if Connor Massey can capitalize.
I don't know. This looks pretty good to me.
Sweeper's really dragging, but it looks...
They got to be careful here. Line was fine. Weight was fine.
A little bit of a panic there by the team.
For sure. Scared me.
More than enough for his 1 point there.
Well, good shot there.
Excellent sweep
by
the sweepers. Sometimes
absolutely.
Sometimes you get caught there, and you caught there with your head down as a sweeper, but luckily someone was looking around and knew that they were close.
So a single point on the board for Team Massey. Score now 4-3 for Team Rooney. Rooney has hammer going into the 7th end.
And this is where 5 rock rule really makes its impact on the game in the last 2 ends of the game.
Yeah.
Watching the top teams in the world, the 7th or the 9th in the case of 10 ends, that's really where the biggest strategical change has happened with the 5th end or with the 5 rock rule. Now being down 2 isn't as big an issue because a 3 is certainly possible with the 5 rock rule. So you've seen teams make some what look like maybe awkward or weird decisions in the second last end of the game in order to have the hammer in that loss and the opportunity for 3. So we'll see how these teams decide to play it and how willing they're able to go, or how willing they are to go for it here in the 7th end with only 2 ends to play.
Massey's team are down to 6 minutes, 37 seconds to play 2 ends, so they're going to want to really be aware of that.
Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning of last time, but we said it wasn't really much of an issue now. But looking at it, you want to keep a little bit more of an eye there, but over your shoulder at the time clocks.
So this is where the players need to be in the hack, rock cleaned, ready to throw as soon as the skip puts the broom down. Not to rush it, but to be ready.
Absolutely, and it's called thinking time. So, but it really isn't. It doesn't have to do with the strategy or the thinking of the shots at all. I mean, sometimes it does. Sometimes you have to have a discussion, but it really comes down to the first three players of the end. You want to have your rock ready to go in the hack, and if you're ready to go, you can have time to have discussions later on in the game. But as long as you're ready to go in the hack and you throw as soon as you're ready, the time, 32 minutes, it should be tons of time to play an 8-end game. You shouldn't really be getting close. So this is where the first, really the lead and the second of the Massey team will have to be ready in the hack, ready to go, and sort of have an understanding of what they're going to throw so they can get out of the hack as soon as possible.
Yeah. So nice shot in there by Team Massey, drawing around that guard. You can see about half of it though.
Now, that's always a really tricky situation, and we see it a lot where a center guard is thrown and the team with hammer slips sort of back 8.
Yeah.
And I've really never thought that was as big as an issue as some people say it is. You know, for a long time we called it the Don Bartlett trap, where Don Bartlett, one of the greatest leads of all time, every time if he ever slipped back 8, the other team would think, oh, this is an opportunity, and put it top 4, and then you lock a corner freeze on that one, and then you're in trouble if you don't have hammer. So
yeah, because quite often that one will come into play.
Oh, yeah, and if you can get a good angle on it so that it doesn't jam on that back one, then you're talking about 3 if you're the team with hammer. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation if you're a team without hammer. You have to be careful. We actually will see a lot of teams, if someone does slip back 8, they are perfectly okay with throwing right back to it and locking it on to avoid giving the other team the opportunity to set something up really well. Good decision here by Team Rooney to just start peeling and keep it as open as possible.
Yeah, Team Rooney is up 1 with now, so they're in control of this game. I would say they would want to score in this end.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing when they were talking in between ends should have been that we just need to be the next team to put a point on the board.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's 1 or obviously you would love for it to be a 2 or a 3 or something like that, but just if you're the next team on the board, you put yourself into a great situation. We talked about 5-rock rule, how a 3 is possible in the last end, but it's still a tough task to actually execute that.
Right.
So being up 2, I'm sure Landon Rooney would be more than happy with going into the last end. So the big thing here is really just make sure you put a point on the board.
Yeah.
And to do that, you really just need to make 1 shot, and that's the last one. So we'll probably see them play this a little bit more open as much as they can. That being said,
well, you can see about a quarter of this one on the 4-foot. Looks like he's going to go for it, try to remove it, push it back.
Yeah, I do like this call as long as the thrower understands the tolerance of the shot.
Yeah.
If you tick the guard out of the way, that's more than okay. You just don't want to overthrow this shot.
Yeah.
Be tight, be light. That's more than okay, and he does just that. And that's more than okay, this situation. Basically just makes a peel anyways.
The Massey team will just continue to guard that rock on the 4-foot.
I've talked about tolerance a couple times this game. That's really the big thing that the better teams do so well. The top teams at juniors and moving up into men's, they don't ever really have complete misses.
Right.
They never have a shot where you don't get something out of it. If you can, now they don't make all of their shots at the same time, but they always get something out of every throw, whether that's moving, if they're going to miss, they move a guard out of the way, or if they're going to miss a tap, they're going to end up freezing it and get
Right.
a good situation out
Yeah.
of it. So that's really the one thing that teams really have to pay attention to and really put a lot of work into developing and understanding what the tolerance is on all the shots. That being said, at some point you still have to make your shots too.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
Really hard. Kev, you got it. You still got it. You still got it. You're still holding it. Real hard. Go, Kev, you got it. Hard.
I think he's by here.
Whoa. Hard landing.
that is an excellent shot there. Sit 3. Putting a lot of pressure on Connor Massey. They're going to have to make a good hit and roll here to wrest control of this end from Team Rooney.
I think he popped this one out on his release here a bit. That's definitely gonna stick in the open here.
Yeah, I think so. 6 minutes. Plus 2 timeouts. I don't. Like, I mean, if we go here, he's drawing. And then we're peeling. Okay. I don't mind going for the inside. No, this isn't bad.
Okay, so we're gonna have a timeout here for Team Rooney.
Like if we hit.
All right, so let's listen into what the Rooney team has to say.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Just go for nose.
Yeah, no, I think if you roll behind, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Just don't, like, jamming it's the worst.
Yeah.
So we heard a little bit of discussion from the Rooney team there, whether they want to nose or roll a little bit on this rock. I believe they decided to just try and nose it, which I think is a good call. This is a situation, again, you're sitting, if you nose this rock, you're sitting 3.
Yeah.
And all the pressure is on Connor Massey to try and find a way to escape this end without giving up something big. So sometimes the best thing to do is just, take the easy shot, let the other skip have all the pressure and have all the tough ones, and see how they handle it.
Well, that's a great shot.
What do you guys think?
So Connor is opting to play the hit and roll here. Talked about just playing the draw. That's a pretty risky shot. First shot for Connor Massey. 7th end.
Did you get a time on that, John?
So a little too much of a roll there. It's going to give Rooney a chance here. He's going to hit and sit 3, Matt.
Yep, just a nose hit to sit 3, and looking at the situation here, you'll likely just see Massey put everything on the line and try and draw one around that center guard, and then Rooney will just have to likely make one good hack weight come around takeout to put a big score on the board in the game, likely. But you still want to nose this one.
Yes. We didn't like that throw. The third's not liking this too much.
Calling whoa right out of his hand. Hopefully he still has a piece. Well, that's more than okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't sit the 3, but still sits 2 in good position, and all the pressure is still on Massey to put one in a good spot.
Or we'll just try to get his berries out.
So Connor Massey, his last shot in the 7th, wants to come around the center line guard, bury this rock, make it very difficult for the Rooney team to score multiple points here in this 7th end.
And they're going to need this one to curl.
Gotta get this to Barry.
Unfortunately, just didn't get the curl he was hoping for. Weight was absolutely
great.
perfect,
Yeah.
but just hung out there. That's a trend we've been seeing down that spot most of the game. It's been tough to bury on that side of the sheet, so big opportunity here for Rooney to score 3 if he can remove this rock and stick around. Makes the hit, but just rolls out, only gets 2. So you likely will see Massey continue to play. Hope for a 3 in the 8th to tie the game and go to the extra.
Yeah, so 6-3 here now coming home. Massey has hammer. I think if he had taken 3 there might have been handshakes, Matt.
I would have expected
Yeah.
the gloves to come off if it was a 3. So Massey continue to breathe here, staying alive, but definitely has lots of work here to do in this 8th end.
You have to be exactly perfect. Hit, you could have hit and rolled. You could have just hit one. You could.
6, not bad. Good, bud.
Good shot by Ben. Corner guard gonna go up.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Yeah, and you'll see this is a pretty standard how you set this up for both teams. You'll see Rooney likely put 2 rocks in the rings and then cap it off with a guard. And really the only variation here would actually be for the Massey team. Sometimes you will see teams attempt to put 2 guards up on the same side, one tight and one a little bit higher. Or sometimes if the first one ends up about halfway, you'll see them throw the other corner on the other side of the sheet. So. Either variation works. You've seen the top teams start to tend a bit more towards throwing the 2 guards on the same side, and I think that just has to do with keeping one side of the sheet open as sort of a fail-safe. Gives you the opportunity to still make some shots and hopefully have the chance. But it'll be interesting to see what Massey decides here. That guard probably not quite as tight as they would have liked it to be. So.
Well, actually, Matt, what I'm interested to see is how Rooney is going to play this, especially his second's first stone. If another corner guard goes up, because I have seen where there's too many yellow rocks in here, when you're trying to, when you've got the lead, your opposition ends up tapping those back, using them, and a 3-ender can come and play really easy.
Absolutely, and that's what's so fun about the 5-rock rule now. You don't really have a choice. You are sort of forced to have a couple rocks in play, and there's always the opportunity for that team that's down to make some really good shots and hopefully get something set up. That being said, I think we'll see Rooney here try and call a tight guard.
Yeah,
and
tight
if
guard.
That is successfully placed there, then there's definitely some work by the Massey team. You'll likely start to see a couple more taps, maybe just trying to open it up. Definitely Connor Massey's team will want to keep as many rocks in play as they can, regardless of color.
Yeah.
Just keep rocks around and hopefully just get your color in a good enough position to have a chance for 3 at the end. Big shot here. Most important thing is to keep your rock around as a corner guard.
Just throwing a nice control weight at this. For that reason, Matt, he wants to stick around.
And he does just that. Very good outcome out of that shot.
Really nice shot.
Now this is where the decision comes for Rooney, whether you'll definitely see them peel. The only question is for how long. They've got 2 good rocks in the center, and at some point they might switch it up and just try and, sometimes offense is the best defense, I guess.
Yeah.
Just throw a guard and make the other team make some good ones.
So just gets the 1. So nice little setup here for Massey. This is where you need to get some rocks around these corner guards.
Absolutely. I think with the position where those guards are, they're a little bit higher than you would have liked.
Put it over there. Does the double jam? Take it T. And then it won't.
Okay, so I think we're seeing him come around because those guards are not quite as tight as maybe he would have liked. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been surprised to see another corner guard go up as well. But you'll see Connor kind of slow play this a little bit. He'll go around the guard. Likely you'll see Rooney peel, and Massey will continue to guard maybe 1 or 2 shots until he starts to go around the other guard and really try and set up his 3.
Gotta get this by. I think it's by.
Just by. Great sweep. And an excellent spot for that rock to finish, really getting this end set up well.
So straight peel here. Oh, I think this is going by. Oh, well, he gets a little lucky there, but got to be good to be lucky.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you just got to roll with that stuff. I've made a lot of lucky shots in my career, I'll say that.
Everybody has.
Sometimes all you can do is just turn around and say sorry to the other team and go back down to the other end. Being said, still not the end of the world for Massey's team.
No.
They still have 4 rocks left, only need 3 to score, and have a couple corner guards. So if my math all works out, that you go around the guard and Rooney peels, you go around the other guard, 3 is definitely still in play. This one out a little bit wider, so they'll have to work to get it to Barry.
So, of course, you talk tolerance here, Matt, and they're very aware that if they don't hit the one in the rings, to at least hit the guard.
Absolutely. At this point, you know, if you hit the one in the rings, you don't need to stick around. You've put yourself in a really good position if you just peel out the rest of the end, but this one is
beyond the guard.
Curling. No, that's still all right, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
At some point, you know, Connor's going to have to deal with those yellow ones at the top of the rings, and that will be Rooney's opportunity to hopefully get a couple rocks in there and keep Connor from being able to score 3. Actually, if Connor does get around this guard, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rooney just completely ignore it, nose the red on the open side, and just stick around somewhere in the forefoot.
Yeah.
Make Connor have to deal with it at some point. Just a little bit light there and doesn't quite get the curl he was hoping for. It was really important. You needed to throw a little bit extra there. You wanted to be back house to give yourself enough room to wrap another one around that guard.
So important here, Matt, for Rooney to stick around on this shot.
I think so. I think it still is important. The thing is, it's not as bad if he rolls out now because Charlie's rock didn't quite get the curl. He will have an open hit no matter what to likely win this game. But yeah, you can really put the pressure on by sticking around in the forefoot, and Connor will have to figure out how to remove 3 stones and keep Rooney from being able to take out any of his. And that's a tough task. That's a good shot right there. That'll do the job.
Like we could chip and no, even if we do this, that's like Norm. Do you like getting this double or this double?
This double.
This
That's
double here?
That is-
Okay,
yeah.
with
Keep
Noah?
our shooter.
So the guys
We
are,
have a timeout for the next one,
yeah,
right?
keeping an eye on the clocks here. They're down to a minute here by the time Connor shoots this one. He does have timeouts.
I believe both teams have one timeout left,
Yeah.
so that should be more than enough. Talking about this shot, I see what Connor's thinking. He does have to remove these stones and make the roll around, and that will leave Rooney with pretty much an open hit to win the game. I was interested in what Charlie said, and it was kind of what I was thinking too. If you had the opportunity to sort of tick your own red behind the guard and maybe roll to frozen on one of the yellows, then the issue becomes then you have to remove 3 rocks with 1 stone. So
Whoa.
Yes.
Roll up
Whoa,
here.
whoa, no, never.
No
never.
roll. Close. It's
So-
close. Roll it.
Okay.
oh,
Okay, so we're going to have a timeout here by Rooney.
I'm gonna try something on my next one, obviously.
I don't really. Looking at what Connor has right now, I don't know if there's any triple on those yellow stones. So
Would you not just remove a red rock?
that's what
Game
I was
over?
thinking. Yeah, like you could even throw the one that just opened up on the outside
Yeah.
if you wanted to. Either way, it doesn't matter if he has a triple or not. If you just take out one of his rocks,
Well,
you win
exactly.
the game. So
Yeah, I'm actually a little confused on the timeout call here.
at first I thought he was just doing it to stop the clock.
Yeah.
but
I'm just watching the coach here, and he's not pointing at those red rocks on the
Yeah.
other side.
they might be thinking if you draw one in, then he has to make a quad. But
yeah.
I don't see. I think an open hit is pretty straightforward to
Yeah.
win the game. Like
Yeah. They're not really speaking of that, so.
It's literally just don't be happy.
so, they are playing the draw actually.
They are, yes. So let's say they actually didn't make this draw. There might be a triple there.
There may be, yeah. Like let's say if he ended up as a guard, you might be able to thin that rock on the left side in the 12
Yeah.
foot as we're looking at it right now.
Yep.
Thin hit that one, and redirect to thin hit the one right near it, and then hopefully roll all the way across the rings.
Yep.
Although, of course, if he gets one in the 8 foot here, I'm not sure
No.
if there will be a quad, but
So last shot here, the 8th end for Team Rooney.
This cannot be heavy. Okay, at least we're not heavy. Just get it in.
Actually really working this one, Matt.
yeah, this
Get
one
it
is
in the
not
rings.
heavy.
I don't think we're there.
And all right, they'll give up on this, so guess we'll get a chance to see if the triple is here now. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought he would just hit one of the reds and shake
Absolutely.
hands. I see the thinking with the draw. If you get one in the 8 foot, it's game over too. So I guess it's whether you think you're going to make the draw or the hit more often, but you know.
So taking their time out, but just because they need some time on the clock here. So
Yep.
they're just looking at how they have to hit this first rock.
I don't see. I don't think you can.
Absolutely down to 35 seconds, just taking their time out to give themselves an extra minute. Both coaches staying in their chairs. They understand what's going on.
What? This is no. This yeah.
So they got to throw this one hard, Matt, to get some action.
Absolutely. You're hitting both rocks really thin. You don't have to move them very far,
Yeah.
just out of the rings. But to get the action all the way across the rings and push that third rock far enough, that's where all that weight needs to
Yes. Yeah.
be coming from. So
So here we go. Connor Massey attempting a triple here for a tie. Boy, he threw that hard. Don't think he likes it. Ah.
Really
Well, good
close,
effort.
but great effort, but a tough shot. And Landon Rooney comes out with the win. With that, they move to 3-3 in the standings. Connor Massey drops to 2-4, and with that outcome, 4 losses now takes you out of the playoff picture.
Okay.
Looking at the standings right now, we have Page at 5-1, Leung at 4-2, three-way tie between Goves, McNamara, and Rooney at 3-3, but Rooney playing Goves in the men's last draw today, so one of those teams will stay at 3-3, and 4 losses is out of the playoff picture.
Okay, so that is going to conclude our coverage here of Draw 6 of the Men's Under-18 Championship. Two